they're lizard people.
Yeah,
I'm
some
just
type
like,
of
that's
high
kind
or
of
something.
crazy.
I don't know, man. I think they might be like an alien race. Like,
Yeah, there's
I agree
something
with
off
like
about
the
them.
elites. I think they're
No,
like
like,
they're led by like a
They
higher,
could for sure be
like an alien. I think there's like aliens watch us.
I just don't think
they
they're like
are
a lizard
controlling the
people.
world.
Alright, hello and welcome everybody. This is the Gentlemen's Club. It's your host right here, Navanki and CJ3KTV. We've got our guest over here, Elo Audio and Visuals. We've got our man over here, Cam. And really, honestly, we're going to start the topics off a little bit more intense. We're going to start with the biggest, I'd say not necessarily the biggest, but what's like necessarily the craziest conspiracy theory that you guys would say that you would believe, and then after you get that one out, like maybe what's like the one that gives you kind of like the most humor, like wow, that's actually crazy, somebody come up with that.
That's hard. To be honest, I believe a lot of them. I think the craziest one is for sure the fucking lizard people. Like, everyone knows about the lizard Illuminati.
Yeah.
I believe there is definitely some type of Illuminati or some shit out there. I don't think they're lizard people.
Yeah,
I'm
some
just
type
like,
of
that's
high or
kinda
something.
crazy.
I don't know, man. I think they might be like an alien race. Like,
Yeah, there's
I agree
something
with
off
like
about
the
them.
elites. I think they're
No, like,
they're led by like a
They
higher,
could for sure be
like an alien. I think there's like aliens watch us.
I just don't think
they
they're like
are
a lizard
controlling
people.
the world. They might
Like,
not
per
be,
se.
bro. They
Yeah,
could
nothing
be,
like-
we
nothing
don't,
like,
we don't know, man.
That's true.
They could
That's
look
true.
like they could look like lizards, but they're
Because
not.
we have seen some
that
pretty. I mean,
type
look
of
at
thing,
how.
you know what I'm saying?
Look at Joe Biden. He just don't look human.
See, I don't even think. I don't.
Joe Biden does
Yeah,
not
going
seem
down
like
a
a
whole road, bro.
human. Like,
What
let me
about
just picture right here. Look at that nigga. No, he does
Yeah.
not look like a human being.
I think he's just.
I do be thinking they be cloning people, bro.
Yeah,
In the government.
the androids and shit. I feel like that's something they've.
No, there's a
'cause they-
video. There's a video of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's dog. They literally are like, she's like, the whole time like he's like holding her. He looks more real than her, but he looks like a guy with a fucking like a rubber mask thing pulled over his body, and then the suit over it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. There's something weird about the whole British
Yeah, there's a lot
patriarchy.
Of shit
They're
going
a little odd over in that part, but I feel like I don't know. Royalty in general is suspect to me. I don't really know how like. I don't know, I just feel like if I was in the medieval days, I wouldn't be like, you know what, this nigga who's the king, I'm gonna just do whatever the hell he wants for no reason. Like, I don't know, I just don't know how that shit started. And obviously, I don't know, it's all suspect. Like,
I think it always back to just like heritage and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like
no,
I'm
like,
sure
I
they
think-
look at us like, how are they okay with somebody different every 4 years?
I feel
Or
like the
every 8
biggest.
years, you
I
know
feel
what
like
I'm
the
saying?
biggest question for me is like.
It's probably like a security thing.
Where and like when along the lines of the human civilizations did they just go, okay, yeah, these are the people that are royalty? Like who, like what is it that
Well, I feel
decided
like
these
yeah.
factors?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like, look at it like this. America, not a lot of people know this. All four of the founding fathers are all stonemasons.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Well, a lot of this shit goes back to like it's all been families that have ran the world since the beginning of like economy and money and shit like not
Just the
money
people who
and
got
shit
the
because like,
power
there was always
first.
like a type of currency, but I'm talking like when world banks and like shit like that started coming around and countries started loaning countries money. I mean, it's always kind of been a thing, but not to the level of what it is now when it comes to like debt and like like what people do because of how much debt you're in. Like shit changes now, so like I don't know, dude. Like it all comes down to like just the aspects of I don't know, bro. Like there's a lot that goes into it for real.
There's
like,
a lot that goes on
whole lot
behind the
that goes
scenes
into
that
it.
nobody knows, and it's
Well, it's just crazy because it's all owned. If you look at it, like there's like charts. I've seen charts of it all broke down. All of these little companies, like fucking Pepsi, Coca-Cola, all these little companies are owned by these bigger companies. And all of these bigger companies, there's like 13 bigger companies that own all of these little companies that we know. All these little brands and shit.
almost of everything we see is owned by like 20 companies.
And then those 20
They
companies
produce
are owned
everything.
by like 4 or 5
Yep.
like families, like Rothschilds, shit like that. Like I
Yeah,
don't
the
know,
Rothschilds
you
are
know
big
what I'm
ones.
saying? Yeah, but like that's just.
And it's like it's weird how like no one really talks. You don't hear about a lot of these families, and that's how you know that they're really.
they own
The people who
media,
are really at the top,
they
you don't
own-
hear about them.
They own the TVs.
Because
that
it's
we own,
information.
they
There's
own
nothing
the-
about them
They
I
own the
feel like-
companies that make the fucking equipment like that we're using to record this shit with, dude. Like it's just like everything always leads back to them. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Everything always
That's
leads
what I
back to the
think
money,
it is.
man.
yeah,
I
money.
mean, that's how it is with war, and like
Greed.
a lot of these war. I mean, war is for profit only.
I
War
don't
is
even
for
think it's
profit
money.
only.
It's just power,
Yeah,
control,
that too.
knowing that you can persuade a certain. Because you know how many motherfuckers there are. I know y'all know at least one old lady that believes and watches her television religiously.
Yeah.
Everything that it says.
Yep, my
You know what I'm
grandmother. That
saying?
is exactly. My grandmother goes and sees CNN, and there is no question in her mind about anything. Like I saw, what was it that I heard today, and it was outlandish. It was like Trump plans to kill somebody and commit murder if he's like Trump says to kill the Senate, and it's like something he didn't fucking say. Like it's a bunch of bullshit being spouted by some random person on Facebook that they're using as a way to
Yeah, they're using that
as a way to throw down on Trump, using it
Yeah,
as a
just
way to
twist it
degrade
around
it. Yeah,
into what they
twisting
want
the
it to be.
information, not giving the whole truth on fucking anything, and then people like my grandmother who see CNN, they think 100% fact on everything they say, just eat it up and don't think a second about it after that.
People don't really take the time. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, good morning. Like back in, I feel like with the older people back in their day, like the news was more honest and
Yes.
you could take it serious, and it wasn't so much just
Bullshit.
trying to get you to change the channel to their news station or trying to get you to click on the next topic or some shit. It's everything's changed, but they haven't changed.
Well, a lot of those times though, those people were completely fine with how life was. You know what I'm saying? Like they were still being fed brands of food and shit like that that are
Yeah.
owned by the same fucking companies.
Yep.
Blah 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 blah. It's always been the same thing, but people were just more comfortable with it and didn't question it.
They could
Today,
do their own research. We
people
got the
question
internet. We got
Yeah.
everyone at our fingertips.
Motherfucker, if we was in those times and that some bitch walked in here right now, like one of our like uncles or dads or something like that, they would fucking, you know what I'm saying? They'd lose it. Because like you just didn't talk about shit like that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it just wasn't questioned
It's
because
like,
you
like
don't
what the
want
fuck
to
are you
risk
talking
losing
about,
what
man?
you
Yeah,
got. You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure. A lot
That's
of things
why I
are more
think a lot of people
taboo
put a lot of
than-
shit into religion. They're just like, well, if we can't do this, we're at least gonna believe in this, which
Mhm.
sucks. I hope it isn't like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I hope something happens. Something. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get into that, but like.
No, we gotta get.
Well,
it.
I
That's
know,
what we
but
do.
like, it's a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot. And we're on what are we doing? The topic of what were we doing? We're doing
Conspiracy
conspiracy
theories,
theory. So what was the? Where
We're
were
just
we?
talking about the Rothschilds.
It started
and the
off
people
with
who really own it all.
So that was
stuff
the-
like that,
yeah.
higher governments.
Where?
No, man. I mean, I agree with you. It's how. I mean, it's like everything is always like that. Like you gotta look at the old Catholic Church, and we don't. And I'm sure a lot of the shit's still like that. I mean, they would.
They're all tied in.
Yes,
with that
they are
shit.
tied in with everything, man. And it's like they go and they can.
They've
They
been
had
around
more
just as
power.
long
They
as
had more
those
power
families
over
and shit.
Europe than any king did. By far, the Pope could do whatever the hell he wanted.
They had way more
yeah,
power
the
than the
priest
government.
who
Yeah,
was in
they
that
had more
town could do whatever
followers.
the hell they wanted.
They had
Yeah.
millions.
And
of
it's
followers.
like you go in, if you didn't go, if you didn't believe in the Catholic Church, you were getting killed. You were a heretic. You were fucking insane. You were a witch. You were someone who obviously was not welcome in that town, and most of the time you would end up getting killed. And I mean, it's just like the stranglehold they had over that, and it's like it's a big reason why I can't really delve deep and believe in any one religion fully, because with them doing shit like with I can't remember what the exact term was for it, but it's when they would have people and you would go and pay the church, and he would say, as long as you pay every month, you're going to heaven. Shit like that, and it's obvious fucking lies. They're saying I can speak to God, and God says blah blah blah, whatever propaganda he wants to put out, and whatever control he has. I mean, it was believed wholeheartedly, because if you didn't, you want to fucking hell, you would die and burn or you blaze to death. And that's why I can't really trust or fully believe in any of that shit, because it has obviously been skewed and edited to fit a certain demographic that they want to
I
fit.
mean,
you
for
know?
the people that would take time to actually to look into every religion, like for example, like think about things like the Crusades and things like such. For the Jewish people, the Islamic people, and the Christianic people, all of their beliefs, if you look and read into all these religions, they're all pointing and meaning the same thing. It's the same general message that's being brought into light, and it's a matter of you know, each one of these three religions, even, well, honestly, the Jewish people and the Christianity people had the same exact prophet, just a different belief for the prophet. You know, the Jewish people believe that Jesus was not the son.
He hasn't even came yet, is what they believe too.
Yeah, they had believed that he also wasn't the son of God.
That there wasn't two different people.
And
or no, I think they think it was two separate people, don't they? Like Jesus is somebody and God is somebody. Like it's not the same person. Whereas
well, in the Christianic faith,
they believe
it's not
in
the same people.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
they believe that it's literally Jesus and God, and then that it's two separate people. I think is what the difference is. And they also think that Jesus hasn't came back yet. That God is so far, like they don't believe in the first coming or whatever. Like all those stories and shit that Jesus did. I think it's like the first or the second testament they don't believe, and that's the testament when Jesus performed all the miracles and shit like that. Because they think that.
Yeah, they don't believe they believe he was like more of a speaker of God,
like
than
a
like
prophet.
more prophet than an actual
God.
son of God.
Yeah, and
which is crazy if you think about it, because like motherfucker, like what, like if you was to ask that question, like going to like a Baptist church like I grew up in, if I was to ask that motherfucking question, like why did it, like what makes their belief different than mine, like why, who's going to hell, they would be like, they wouldn't know it. I mean, that's not like I mean, really though, what would they say? I just wonder.
And it's because they don't get asked that either. Like when you're in a place like church, the whole point is you're not really there to speak, you're there to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's how that's how it's supposed to be. You're not there to speak, you're there to listen.
That's why I like a lot of I did a lot of non-denominational churches, and that was a fucking really cool experience because like I did this shit with like Young Life as a group. They like do this shit with like youth and stuff in high schools and stuff. And they have camps and shit like that. But they literally wanted you to question everything. Like anytime you read a fucking scripture and you were like, well, what the fuck? Like that doesn't make sense. They'd be like, okay, what does it make sense about? Like they would literally break that shit down, and it was cool as fuck because like they didn't believe in any kind of name. They didn't call it anything. It was non-denominational. You're not a Baptist. You're not a Pentecostal. You're not a Jew. You're not anything.
Yeah.
You believe in like the Bible. You believe in God's word. You believe in what God has said. Because like, I mean, it all comes back around. Like any of the stories that you read, a lot of that shit, bro, is literally like just metaphors for like general life shit. Like, and it's genuinely like being good, like being a good person and being a fucking evil person. Guess what? When you do bad shit, tell me bad shit don't happen in your life. When you do good shit, you know,
and I
shit
feel like
comes around, bro.
I feel like that's what the concept of heaven and hell is. That's why I like a lot of Islamic and Buddhist preachings.
Yeah,
Because a lot of it is, hell isn't necessarily the fiery landscape you go through. It's the place that you put your soul into by being a bad person. You make your life a living hell by being a bad person. You're always sad or bad shit's always happening to you. You're never happy. You're living a living hell.
The idea for that one was life was suffering.
Yes. And when you die living that way, when you're born again, it's gonna be the same shit. Because what did you spend your entire life living in hell? So why would that change up? And I feel like heaven is a piece. It is a aspect of soul more than a place. It is how you feel, like being in a personal heaven.
Well, one of the main fucking verses that I think of when I think of any kind of religion when it comes to me, like if I'm religious or whatever, I would just be like, all I know is that God said, be a light unto others, and if they do not know him, then they shall see him through you, or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
I know it's just be a light unto others, which literally just means let people see God through you. When people think of you, when people see you like coming to them or like saying something to you, you want them to be. You want them to think he has nothing but good things coming. You know what I'm saying? There's not a thought in my head that says, oh, this guy's got, oh fuck. You know what I mean? Like here comes this guy. Like you want to be like, if you saw fucking God walking up to you, you know what I'm saying? Not like get the God complex, but like
someone who brings peace and happiness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what that fucking verse means. And that literally, like, we did like a fucking like few weeks on a study, literally just on that verse, because like they wanted that to be very clear. Like it was just like, be God, be who Jesus would be, because like God wouldn't be fucking chilling with all these kids that are doing right, he would be chilling with us. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
'cause
Like,
I think a
he'd
lot
be
of
sitting
people-
right here with us smoking, not talking about smoking, but like chilling, you know, hanging out, talking, shooting the
I
shit.
feel like Jesus did smoke weed. I feel like there's not a world where
I don't
Jesus
know,
don't
like-
smoke some weed.
I mean, I'm just saying he would definitely be chilling with the people
He's
that
gonna drink
don't
some wine
feel
with
like
his niggas. I thought he was
you
gonna
know.
smoke some weed with his niggas.
Yeah, literally.
the people that you know that they love God and are having a relationship with God personally. You know, God's with them. They got their things covered. He's rather gonna be hanging out with people like they don't know. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what I think it was all about. It was just like be that person.
Yeah, and I
Be that
think that's
person.
what
all I think
that's
people
my
boils
problem with
down
a lot
to.
of how religion has become. It's not the source itself that I don't. It's what people have turned it into. Instead of necessarily listening to just the aspect of, like you said, try to be a godly figure. Try to be someone who brings happiness, who brings joy, who brings heaven to others.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, they try to say it's more of like you want. They try to skew your view of it as in do what they want and you go to heaven, or if you don't, you're going to fucking hell. And it's not. That's never how it's supposed to be. It was never supposed to be you better do this or you're going to fucking hell. It was never you have to believe in my Christian God. You have to be a Baptist. You have to be a Catholic, or you're going to hell. That's never how it was supposed to be. That's never how God intended it to be. It's how people have skewed it.
Right.
The aspect of it, I feel like the goal and the people, the reason why these so-called prophets and messiahs, to get the idea out from earlier,
I think
even though the Jewish and the Christianity belief have the same general prophet, just to have those little bits of differences causes so much turmoil. Like, to be honest, the purpose of religion is to find God in oneself and create peace in the life that is mostly suffrage. You know, there's a lot of bad shit that happens because a lot of people don't respect themselves. A lot of people will just do whatever. You know, they live day by day, and as long as there's somebody there to tell them, hey, do this, do that, people prefer to be led opposed to being, you know, people who can lead.
That, and I think it's because it's a test. I mean, it's really easy to be a nice, happy person when life is easy. It's a lot harder to keep that faith in God and keep that faith in goodwill for yourself and others when life is hard, and that is why it is hard. Because you were supposed to, through these
supposed to fight
trials,
through it.
yes, you were supposed to be stronger. That makes you stronger. Through the toughest
That's what
times, you can
faith
still find a
really
way
is,
to be
bro.
happy. And that is the whole point.
Alright, well here's a little switch up. What the fuck was the other thing on that question in the beginning? I feel like we've dove really
Conspiracy,
far into that
yeah,
first one.
conspiracy
So what was
theories.
the second part though? I think it was one that makes you laugh.
Yeah, the goofiest one.
The goofiest one. So what's yours? You were first.
That's hard because there's a lot of really goofy conspiracy theories.
Just something funny that you know people actually believe in that you
First-
think is crazy.
First one to come to my mind is the fucking flat Earth.
Yep,
shit.
I knew
Yeah,
that was
Bro, okay,
definitely
listen to
one.
me
Yeah, that's
though.
kind of outplayed by
Goofy
now,
is-
but
I agree that I think it's bullshit that it's flat or whatever. I mean, you know.
you can go to the
Who-
beach and see the fucking curve. for
Right,
God's sakes.
right.
Come on now.
But I do believe in one of two things, and I think either one of these things could very well be true. And it goes along with the flat earthers because they also believe in this thing. One thing's called a firmament, which is a fucking sphere that's around us. Have you ever seen fucking SpaceX rockets?
Yeah,
Smaller.
Yeah, they're not owned by the government.
yeah, Elon's, yeah.
You ever notice when the government rocket ships take off, they fucking go up and then they start going at an angle. SpaceX rocket ships, when they go up, they don't go at a fucking angle until they get way up there. And then when they start going at their angle, it almost looks like they're fucking skidding across something. That shit fucks me up because it's like, bro, what if he's hitting? And every time that they launch, like, I know it might be emotional because, like, you're seeing something that you created do what you wanted it to do, but Elon fucking cries. And he doesn't cry until that fucking moment when it starts fucking doing that shit up in the sky. So it's like he knows. And he's just like, God damn it. Like, and like, that's why I think so many people are trying to like get towards the space and get towards the sky and shit. I don't think for a second, like, NASA has even told us that the images of the Earth, like, they're all like CGI, like, what if, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's one of them. And then the second thing is hollow Earth.
I believe
Well,
that's
see, that one's possible.
I feel like
for
it's
sure.
very possible.
I think, yeah.
And I think a big thing
There's
is like
like an
Antarctica, like,
You
and
can
this,
only
yeah, a
travel
known
like a
fact.
certain place.
And it is a known fact that in Antarctica, almost the entirety of the continent, you can go into it under it.
Yep.
you're able to go under almost the entire continent.
I
And
Well, and
I
that
want to
is-
touch on the Antarctica thing real quick. I don't know like facts for sure, but I think that like we discovered Antarctica in like maybe like 1700 something, but they got maps as far back as like the 1500s that has Antarctica on it already. Like they already knew it was a thing, and it's been there like for forever. And another thing about Antarctica is it's not owned by one particular like
Yeah,
country. Like we all have.
universal.
Yeah.
As long as they're
parts.
respectful, you can go up there for research.
Every
and, like,
country in the
there's-
world has a post in Antarctica.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, what is there?
What's there,
I feel like
Yeah.
the biggest thing in terms, at least for the flat Earth theory, is that we as humans do not understand how like actually small we are compared to the planet that we sit on. You know,
Right.
it's think about a continent itself. You know, these are things that slide amongst the Earth's crust. You know, the first layer. We know that there's layers beneath. At least that's what we're taught and told.
Yeah.
But
Right.
especially with the biggest thing with that is just like I feel like just because of how small we are, it'll be easy for us to just look at something and go, yeah, no fucking way the Earth's round. Just from your point of view.
Right.
But you know, like Eli said, you know, going over to the ocean, once you get up on those high balconies and you look over, you can see how it has some type of
You can see
Domature
fucking
to
ships
it.
coming over the horizon as they're
Exactly.
coming towards the inlet.
And to sit there and think, at least for places like Antarctica, especially since it's just such a peculiar place. One of the biggest reasons why it's obviously able to be, you know, excavated so deep is because of, well, obviously the entire continent's almost made completely out of ice. So it's a lot of that's going to be hollow, but the stuff that, I mean, they've had a bunch of crazy shit that they've pulled out of the ice there, and even think about it this way, okay, we know for a fact that there are multiple creatures that have been able to live under Earth, like even, you know, slighter creatures like moles and stuff like that. For centuries, people have been building underground catacombs and things like that, and just like how he was mentioning the maps, how things, you know, we say that we've only discovered it here at this point, but taxing way back, you'll see how
Bro, there
people
was a
notice
fucking,
it.
Yeah, there was records like dating back way before, a long time before what we have. But there was like there's like records of like a fire that happened in like Rome or something. There was this huge library.
Yeah,
was
a
in
library
Athens.
of knowledge. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like it literally had everything that we would have, the questions that we have right now. Like it had all
It was
the
burned
answers.
down purposefully.
Oh yeah, for sure, bro. By who? These fucking families that have
The
us now.
people, I feel,
I think it started then.
Well, I feel like there was a point of, I mean, you just have to think about, you have Easter Islands, the movement of those things. You have the pyramids. How the fuck
The
are they built? You have
Stonehenges.
all of these writings on every ancient civilization of
Every
very
single one of them talks about
complex
aliens.
shit. Yes, aliens. You have people talking about, like, I can't remember which, it was an African civilization, but it was literal, like, warfare of a modern scale, and it showed a battle with ships in the sky and weapons being fired, not bow and arrow, but sword and gun is what the best way to describe it.
see, now this is something I actually believe in. So me myself personally, I just be learning. I like to just I have a bunch of useless knowledge. I mean, I can't consider
too,
any
bro.
kind of
No, I get
knowledge
it.
useless, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And
I'll just be shouting random fucking
exactly.
facts.
Yeah.
And especially considering, okay, so look at it this way: dinosaurs, for example. Okay, millions of millions of years, these creatures roamed the Earth. Okay, an asteroid took them out. Meteor, apparently. That's at least what we're taught. See, in terms of carbon dating, what we use to analyze things like old buildings, old bones, the way that carbon dating works is that they pick up really small organic matter, like stuck in between the cracks of all these places.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a theory out there, and this is one that I can believe in, that humans had existed well before what we had originally thought we had existed. Because for literally since the beginning of human civilization, just like how he was talking about, you know, the ships, there's been golden chariots written on walls, people like the Anunnaki that people have been talking about, dragons, all of these things that happen, all of these things that happen. I feel at a point in time that there were possibly multiple types of humanoid species that lived and roamed the earth. People that were advanced, like Atlantis, for example. Plato, I can't remember exactly, but one of Socrates' disciples, Plato, had been to a place, I can't remember the exact place that he had went to, but he had met scholars that had lived on these lands for, like years. People who were considered elders and, things like that. And each, at least he said, I think it was like one or two of the elders had mentioned about the fact that they had been to a city that stood in the middle of the ocean. That's Atlantis, a city of people who were, had gold everywhere, and it just advanced civilization. And often as the Earth does, when our plates and stuff, everything starts moving, the water level will rise. And they said that the place had been sunken down, so on and so forth. So that's one. That specifically is one advanced civilization that multiple people, multiple cultures have talked about. I feel like that there was another meteor shower that had happened, because there's evidence of that crust around the Earth of Ethereum or some kind of chemicals that starts with an E, and this element it's not common on Earth, but it is very common in space. It's common in asteroids and meteors.
I don't really know. Keep going.
And it just when the dinosaurs had been killed, the same exact stuff had been put over there. They say meteors are the reason how organic matter got put on the Earth, like water and shit like that.
Right.
So I believe that there's a really good chance that there was a civilization beforehand that was advanced, who was accustomed to peace and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So when the meteor showers came down, all of them died. The people who were living wildly, you could say primal people, they is what we turned into. These primal people are the ones who turned into the ancient Egyptians, turned into the Mayans, turned into all the rest of these human civilization. Because it's not fair to us, like, we don't know. There's been evidence that goes hundreds, 200s, 300s of thousands of years back saying that humans existed. So,
well, not just that, and recently I saw a video, and it was talking about in 2020s when it was discovered, there was another humanoid race that was discovered, and they lived only as far back as 10,000 years ago.
exactly.
Well, dude,
And
what
this
I
is
think?
a whole separate
I think?
human race.
I think that there's a lot of fucking time that is fucked up. Like, I think the time scale is wrong. I don't believe in the millions of years. I don't believe that. I'm gonna be
You don't
honest.
think so?
No, I'm not a evolutionist. Like, I don't believe in evolution. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I believe in like God and everything. I believe in creation, like, and all that shit like that. Like, I like to like think about it. Sometimes I think it's interesting to like look at like how like the science is done and like all that shit. Like, I'm not gonna fucking shit on it. You know what I'm saying? Because people devote their lives to that. And who the fuck am I to say my belief stumps yours? You know what I'm saying? So like, but what you just said, talking about dinosaurs being like people and shit, bro. They literally talk about dinosaurs in the Bible being with people. Like, and people just skip right over that. And then also the city of gold. So like, here's literally, I have it pulled up right here. I was thinking about it. The only reason that I know this is because I took a trip with my fucking church when I was a kid, dude, to this place called the Creation Museum in Ohio. And it literally showed like the 7 days of creation. Well, like on the 6th day, he created the creatures, all sizes, blah blah blah. Well, there's also a verse in motherfucking Job. Job 40:18 is the verse. It says, a powerful grass-eating animal whose bones are tubes of bronze, his limbs are bars of iron, and also compares to the tail of a cedar tree. Like, what the fuck could that have been? They also mention it, and multiple times in the Bible, is behemoths. Mm-hmm. And like with the whole city of gold, like the advanced, advanced like civilizations and shit like that. It mentions multiple times of like really 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 doing really fucking good kingdoms. Like gold was plentiful. Like they had columns of gold. Like their fucking like cities were like, that was like, I don't think it was that long ago, dude. I really don't think, like you're talking about 10,000 years ago, like shit was different back then. There was giants.
And
And all of that shit is literally talked about in the Bible, but everybody just wants to write it off because it's
giants,
a religion.
a big thing. They are in every single religion.
Every single religion. And there's fucking literal physical proof, archaeological proof that they were there. There's literally been bones found.
I want to
Like-
touch on that. I was watching something about it, but there is signs and proofs like of there being like a greater like civilization, or I don't know the proper word for it, before like the Big Bang or whatever. And like I think what it was is they found hieroglyphs that it showed like us as humans intermingling with like the giant species, and like there was intermingling going
One of my favorite theories.
Andre the Giant.
Yeah. And I found this from a student named Wendigoon, but one of my favorite conspiracy theories that I think is Wendigoon is cool. I love him, bro. He's a great YouTuber. But one of my favorite theories I saw in one of his videos is a theory of that we are not from the planet. The us species now are an interspecies between the people who they don't really have like a proper name for them, but the people who come from outer space who came in and changed the earth entirely and terraformed it and forcibly evolved the people who are here. Like you gotta look at it. There is a very no one can explain the way the Earth's oxygen levels went from really high to mostly carbon.
Exactly.
It is unexplainable. There is no science to why.
Because the
It's like
creatures
backwards.
back
It's
then
literally
used to
like
be twice
backwards
the
science.
size.
That's what makes them
It's
so.
literally
That's what
like
makes
backwards.
them. Yeah.
Like in like science, like in math and shit, it doesn't add.
Yeah, it doesn't
Correct.
add up. And the reason that happened, the reason I like this theory a lot is that these species of aliens came in and they were the force of eradication. They wiped out most of the species on Earth, especially the big ones, invaded the atmosphere with carbon, and then made it to where everything would grow smaller, not only in size, but intelligence. Because a lot of people don't
Also
realize.
age.
Yes, and they age way faster. Because it's hard to think of, but brain size, 99% of the time correlates to how smart you can be,
Exactly.
how possibly smart you can be. It is at least thought to be that a T-Rex's brain had over, I think it was 50,000. I don't know what they're called, but the scratches in your brain that give you extra thought.
Yeah,
The
what
way
your
your brain's so
neurological
wrinkly,
pathways
yeah.
go through.
And it's believed that a T-Rex and most common dinosaurs had thousands of them in that big ass fucking brain they had. And it's crazy to think of how intelligent these creatures had to be.
Y'all want to know something? You want to know my weird thing that I believe in this first one, and I believe in both of them, but it's a mythical creature. I believe that it's real, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I truly believe it, have you guys heard and seen like any of the maps and shit of Kentucky or like
I
Ohio,
know what you're
the
talking
cave
about.
systems? Did you know that Kentucky is literally, there's more square footage underneath Kentucky than there is in fucking the state, like in the line, like in the on top?
A lot of those go to the
And,
Appalachian Mountains here in Virginia. too.
Literally, the whole entire Appalachian Mountains, dude, there's cave systems that intertwine everywhere. But the biggest fucking amount is right here in Kentucky. You know where the biggest amount of sightings is?
Blue
The
Ridge.
epicenter is literally Blue Ridge.
Yep.
And then guess where else? Top left. You know what else is up there? Another fucking cluster of caves. I think that they live in the caves. That's just me.
Yeah.
I think that also connects with inner Earth, and I think that they are maybe what you're talking about, brother.
Yeah,
Because people talk about hearing like they get like
The knocks.
fucked up. Or no, the knocks is like just it's a tactic, I believe. It's just to like scare you
Yeah,
away.
see?
'Cause they're
They've
smart, bro.
proven that they're smart.
They're smart, and
Yeah,
then
like
they
that
also
very
they
much
can
intelligent.
produce sound. Like I don't know if this Bigfoot hunter shows and shit like
I don't
that are
believe in
real.
the shows.
Well,
but
see,
I
those
But
believe
ones
like
are probably
some of
popular.
those people, like the BIFO or whatever, Bigfoot investigations, it's like literally a nationwide thing. It's funded by it's literally real, and they mark every sighting, and you can literally see like where the centers are.
See?
But I will say this: there's been literally like recorded sound nobody can explain, and there's the same sound that like lions have when they roar. You know, that really deep undertone that we can't hear it, but you feel it. It's like oh shit when you hear it. You know, it triggers that
Tigers are capable
that
of doing it
fucking
too.
fight or flight sense in your body of you got to get the fuck out of here.
Danger.
They picked up a sound literally in the fucking hills of Kentucky, son. That goddamn, it's a fucking roar, and they fucking pulled it up on a like on the digital, like they were looking at all the sound waves and everything, and there's literally an undertone, and they pulled it up, and you can like change the tint, like whatever you got to do here, and it literally is this. It matches up almost exactly with a lion, but different, and it's never been recorded before. So like I think that there's some things that we do not know, and I think that's one of them. Another thing, the other thing that I believe, mythical creature, and this is, you're all gonna think I'm full of shit, but dragons.
Dragons are for sure real.
This is my reasoning behind that.
You think they're currently real or
No,
used to be?
I mean, I don't think they're as real as they were. I think they were way more abundant back in the day because we didn't have the technology that we have now. But, you know, there's some certain places in the world we're not allowed to go. Could be, you know.
Well, not only that, people don't realize this.
um,
The map of the world is just that. It is mainly satellite images of aliens. The amount of world that is actually man explored is less than 30%.
Exactly.
Not including the ocean.
Exactly.
Not including the fucking ocean at all. We have how many forests? How much of fucking Russia? How much of Africa?
And like
how
I
much
said
of South
beforehand,
America?
how small are we
Completely-
compared to the actual
Exactly,
Earth?
bro.
Completely unexplored. Never actually touched with a human soul. Just shot at the top of a bunch of trees with a camera.
But here's the thing about dragons.
Each culture has their own version of Bigfoot. Because like I'm leaning towards like the Yeti side of the thing, you know, where they live way up in the mountains where no one can get to it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I believe in. But each culture has something like.
And it's
a
the same
Bigfoot.
thing with dragons.
Here's the thing though. Fossils. Everybody's like, "Oh, there's no fossils." Okay,
Because
here's
they
here.
would be able to fly.
Hold on, man. Yeah, you got
Hollow
it.
bones.
Hollow bones, brother. Hollow bones. Because when you fucking see a bird on the side of the road, it's there for like fucking 5-6 days, and then some bitch is gone.
Exactly.
Because guess what? It's been fucking decomposed. Hollow bones.
A
are fucking
creature
there.
that large would not be able to
Deer
fly
you
without
see
its
on the
bones
road,
being
or deer
hollow.
you see in the woods, those bones are fucking there
For
for
the once
for a long
even.
time,
Yeah,
bro.
It takes a long time. for
And
them
if they're in
to
a good enough spot, they'll be there for years. I mean, like, it's just the way it goes. But a bird, no matter where it goes, it's gone because of the bones. So that's why there's no fucking fossils of dragons, because that shit had hollow bones.
So,
How
and I
would
mean,
they
if
float?
you think about it, like, because I got two things to touch on. So, especially in the terms of dragons, the mythical creatures, all of these things.
Let's touch on the hollow bones real quick.
Yeah.
On the hollow bones thing, the biggest thing that is, there's something, I don't know how big any of y'all are in dinosaurs, but there's a dinosaur called the Quetzalcoatlus.
Yeah.
And it is the biggest flying
I
creature
know
on
exactly what
record.
you're talking about.
And the biggest thing was in 2010, they thought it was a land dinosaur. And you know why? Because there's not any type of bone left of its wing at all. And they only realized it was a flying creature because on one of the joints that connects like what would be its shoulders, they noticed that how it was jointed would be for a flying animal, for full rotational, not for a land dinosaur. And that was the only way they realized it could actually fly, because the skeleton, where the parts that would hollow its legs and its arms, there's no skeletons left of it. Just the spine and the head. And that was all they really had to go off of for so long that they thought it was a land dinosaur. And something like a dragon that could actually fly, because the Quetzal, it is a flying dinosaur, but
But
it
it
had
is more so a glider.
yeah, it was a glider, and they moved a lot more on land. They had to go to the top of a peak to actually take off and expand the wings. They can't
The
take
same thing.
themselves.
Things like flying squirrels and other.
Yeah, they can't
Animals and stuff
actually
like
take
that.
themselves off. A dragon that could take itself off would have an extremely strong amount of muscle and really light bones.
Because I mean, within religious texts, just any type of sightings, these, especially with the giants, there was actually a.
Keep on.
No, you good. There was actually a sighting. It was it was some type of one of those declassified files that they had dropped.
I was about to say
It was,
there was some sort of government thing. and they
Exactly.
found
It was
one.
in the time range of kind of like, I'd say when we first started fucking with Iraq. Within that kind of time era, there was a group of like a platoon of soldiers that were sent to go to a cave because people in the
I know what
local
you're talking
areas
about.
were talking about some type of creature, some kind of blah 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 blah. And as you know, as we do, you know, we're gonna go see and say what's up. And they had said that these people, when they had gone in to the cave that they had witnessed some type of like giant like humanoid thing that he had come out of the cave supposedly. What was said is that he had come out of the cave and he had started attacking. You know, the truck was fucking mangled,
He was
and
tearing people
more than half of the people were dead. But see, the thing is that it was a declassified thing, and the thing with the dragons, so on and so forth, things like the dragons, things like any other type of mythical creature, the Yetis, the Bigfoot. I don't know exactly what you would Sasquatch, I guess is maybe like the broader term for them. And all of these things, you got to think about it. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are all saying the same general thing.
Yeah.
You know, each religion has, you know, depictions of dragons, you know, being animated in the sky, capable of flying, you know, hovering over them, so on and so forth. Until, you know, we really started going out there and hunting the creatures and all the rest of that shit. To have a creature that big, obviously his wings would have to be massive.
Right.
So they're gonna decay first.
Well,
We don't. Most of the dinosaurs we've put together, we're only guessing
Yeah.
what they're looking like. You know, it's not like we actually know for a good bit of
There's
some of them.
no 100% complete skeleton. It doesn't exist. There's nothing that's 100% complete. There is at most, I think one is like 45 to 50. And I think that is a Brontosaurus type.
And I feel like you were touching on with the what was it? How our oxygen levels had got swapped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at that point in time where dinosaurs were alive, and you know, a little bit later into that, they were titanoboas, megalodons. There were all these creatures that
something that say like the changes and everything was almost equal to like hundreds of nukes going off on the planet.
Well, see,
Changing
because the thing
atmosphere
is,
the way that it did.
they talk
Like,
about
it
it.
changed it like almost in that kind of way. Like it literally changed the fucking atmosphere.
Something that seemed completely unnatural.
People like Elon Musk, you know, they were talking about being able to terraform Mars. You know, the way that he had mentioned the best way to do it would be dropping nukes on each pole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that would cause it. You know, it would give, you know, the atmosphere what it needed.
Right.
And for what you were saying about how, because I mean, there were centipedes that would be able to wrap around these giant cedar trees that were way more massive than anything we have
that's what I'm
nowadays.
saying. That's what's the only thing that is
Within-
left proof of that is, not to interrupt you, but with those trees is the cedars and then the redwood trees. Those trees are hundreds of thousands of years old, and those are what would be considered the average tree back then. I mean, these trees are fucking like unconceivably huge unless you were up to see one. Like it's like standing in front of a fucking.
And they
skyscraper.
depicted centipedes, bugs large enough, you know, that were visible from the tree. Bugs, centipedes that would wrap around.
Yeah.
More so, titanoboas were snakes the size of fucking school buses.
Yeah, school buses, yeah.
So like, just sit
They
here and
did,
think
bro,
about
they're
it.
still fucking around. Have you not seen them Amazon fucking python?
Yeah, no, they're getting
Them some
huge.
bitches, like, I saw one the other day. It was recorded like 20 some, I think like 23, 24 feet long.
Yeah.
But
What
I mean,
the fuck, bro?
but
They're
I'm-
like this big at the fucking middle of stupid.
But I mean to talk about, you know, the fact that there had been, in every single religion, how they depict golden chariots, people coming from the skies. You know, think about it this way. Realistically, you could walk into a store and buy every single component that goes into what makes the human body. You know, all of the things that go into what makes us can be found out. The two biggest parts of us, you know, the carbon, the oxygen, these things that we, you know, these are things found out in space. And to think if there are people or creatures, there's no reason not to believe that there are other things out there. The universe is way too broad, it's way too big and massive to think that there couldn't be something out there.
For sure.
All these people, for all these aliens that came in, they always depicted most of the time they were teaching them things, teaching them how to build sculptures. They were making sculptures in their honor, like, you know, being able to do all of this stuff. You know, they were well more civilized, well more technologically advanced than the humans that they were showing. And almost a lot of them, these aliens would be sitting in thrones and the humans would come up to their knees. Or at least that's how they would show them in the hieroglyphs and stuff. So I feel like there would be absolutely no reason to think that things like giants, things like all of these, maybe they're not as gassed up as we think think they are.
Well, I think
but
that's the biggest thing with the theory I was speaking of earlier is when they came and changed that up is when they changed human beings at the core. Like it's more of a forced de-evolution because you got to think of the intelligence of the people back then to build this shit they had, to know this shit they know. They were vastly more intelligent in a lot more different aspects, and it's not like
they understood like sound
now.
way better than we did.
It's not like we are dumb, because obviously we invent great things that we see as way more advanced than anything they had back then. But you got to think of the type of intelligence they had with what they had. Also,
I don't think so much it was the intelligence that was different. I think it was more of a what the fuck better did they have to do with their time?
Yeah, they had a more
They
broad
had nothing
understanding of the
better
world.
to do than to sit around and think about shit and do what they had to do. And they didn't get to just come in, sit down, chill out, look at their phone for a few hours,
work their 9 to 5.
or like fucking play their game for a few hours or do anything. Like they didn't have the time to do that. They didn't fucking want to.
Mhm.
What good would it have brought them?
That's
you know what I'm saying?
that's what the theory leads into. It's pretty much these people that caused the Great Reset are these families, are these ones at the top who control the world because they keep us from reaching the state we were by having everyone have to work a job and make
Look
money.
at people like Nikola Tesla.
You can't just delve into the world of being the best you can. You can't just learn about the universe. You can't just learn about the earth because they're forcing you to focus on everything but that,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like what you're taught in school, you're never taught to learn anything about spirituality or the earth or its background and shit like that, That's just not the shit that you're supposed to talk about or learn about nowadays, and it just kind of makes you wonder why.
The earth is for sure, like, I feel like just like looking at how things die, decompose, just how the earth and how it cycles, it's obvious that the earth is an organism. Everything that gets brought into the earth gets decomposed by the earth. No matter how long it takes, it will eventually happen. Everything that comes from the earth goes back. And I mean, like, I feel like people we purposely are not taught these things to delve into these kind of things because of what it could do and how it would outplace the power system that it's set up, divide and conquer.
Dude, there's a lot. I mean, one thing that I hate about the world, and I hate to say that, but like, even if the government was to be like, okay, here's the truth. My grandparents couldn't fucking handle that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many fucking people on this planet that would straight up probably just off themselves if they knew the truth behind everything that they have listened to and believed.
And that's the point.
That's why they said they can't just fucking tell us. Like, it's always
That's
but
why I feel like shit like UFOs is being spoon fed to us right now.
very slowly.
I
Eventually,
feel like
it's just gonna
there's
be a
some.
big
I don't know
bomb
whether
cell.
there's something that's making them do it. Like something's about to fucking go down.
That's why I think
Maybe
that
it's just
there's
me, but I feel like
aliens in
that's
the
how it
government.
is. Yeah, like I feel like
That's what I'm saying. They've been
here
here
recently
for years.
there's been some shit that has caused shit to start coming and going down.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why they're dropping all this information that was considered taboo as fuck back in the day.
Alright, well,
Now.
I see, okay, I look at it this way, like, to keep a position that you need of power, you're going to have to feed people what's going to keep them working underneath you. I mean, obviously, if we would have been let known from day one, as connected as, say, they were in places like Athens, where this library had been held, how everybody was just allowed, everybody from any culture could come there and live in what they could be considered at that point in time peace. This a place of true democracy where the people did have power, so on and so forth. To sit there and look at it, if they were telling us from day one, I mean, no, anything that we would be told would be handled correctly because we were taught to. The point of it purposely is to keep them, feed information that needs to be fed, get it a little wild every once in a while. That's why we have all these, just like he just said, that's why they dangle it in front of your face with all the sci-fi movies and all this stuff. Nowadays there are so many people out there going, okay, well, aliens are real, because back then nobody was saying that shit. Nobody would come out and be like, I believe in aliens, I've seen one before, I've been, because anybody who heard that, because of the propaganda, because of what's being pushed out at that point in time, anybody who heard that would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're actually crazy. It's the
Mhm.
same thing. JFK had a quote, I don't remember if it was a conference or what it was, but he had said I plan to release all the information that they have been hiding from the people, and then was assassinated within no time, just like that. Look at people like Nikola Tesla. He was focusing on things that people were doing in way older generations. He was looking at sound. He was figuring out electricity. The person of power the more person of the people, you could say. He wasn't a person of the people, but he was more of a poster boy. Thomas Edison was literally allowed to just steal everything Nikola Tesla did, slander his career, and then get the credit for it. Tesla was one of the smartest person to actually exist. Like that, the things that he had come up with, the fact that he was able to
invented, what is it? It's a form of electricity where you literally you could have a light bulb, you turn this thing on right here, you hold the light bulb right here, and that motherfucker turns on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this was at times when
wireless electricity. Yeah, that's what it is.
I think it's probably not the only reason. I don't mean to sound like that. But I think a big part of why that Nikola Tesla didn't have the successes like Edison is because I think Tesla wanted to be like a free range, free for everybody's system.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
they wanted to find some way to
Market
control
it,
it,
because
monetize it, and use it to their advantage.
What he was doing, he was focusing on was being able to pull electricity that was floating through the air. He was going to take energy from the air and just make a power source.
Literally.
Something that everybody would be able to have.
It's literally called a Tesla coil. I just remember it. Yeah. Because
and the thing is that just for years, eons and eons and eons, these people have been, they let you get up to a certain point and then they make sure because they get the information that you need
That's how
way
it is
back then.
That's how it is with just our oil-based energy. People don't realize how much oil controls everything, and there's a reason for that. It's a finite resource that has to be controlled. It's something that can't be mass produced. It's something that's not easy to access. I mean, we make medicine out of our oils. Our car runs on oils. Our electricity runs on oils. Everything they make runs on oils, and there's a reason fucking why. Because the richest people in the world, I can't remember something Bell. He's richer than almost anyone to ever exist. He had control over everything. Disney was owned by him. Entertainment was owned by him. Medicine was owned by him. Everything ran through his company. And it's that's what all the brand, every single name brand, Marathon, Exxon, Shell, all that shit is Bell Oil in a different name. And it still is. And that shit controls a lot of fucking Disney is bigly invested in that. The NBA is invested. Everything is invested in all this shit, and it all comes back.
We set up a system. The system is divide and conquer. People deny it. A lot of people most of the time, especially when it comes with things with truth, people will respond more to how they are emotionally offended by what was heard, just because of, you grow up and you are given a point of view. You're given a narrative by the people who raise you. 9 out of 10 times, parents are not. Nobody will be sat down with their parents and look them in their face and have a conversation with a child and go, okay, now who are you? What is it that you want to do? So on and so forth. They do not teach people. The parents don't teach people to be yourself. They tell you to just, be yourself. Da 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 da. You don't know that. You don't know what the fuck it is. So everything is a choice that we're given. Every single thing that is being brought is a choice. You divide and conquer. You go with Xbox or PlayStation, Samsung or Apple. It's instead of imagine what kind of console could be made if these niggas made one console. Imagine what kind of phone could be made if these niggas made one phone. But the goal of it is, if everything you do in this world is divided, that all the people who sit up at top will get their own little royalty, so on and so forth. That's why we grow up in a society that we're taught people things like stocks and stuff are taught. All these things like this, because they want you to grabble for the money. That's the whole point. A lot of people say that money is the root of all evil, but at the same time, it's also the root of people, because everybody wants money, everybody works for money, but at the same time, it's a piece of paper. We throw away so many values, we do so many stupid things with this shit just because we're so vastly controlled by it. me and him say we want to go eat something right now. We couldn't just go into a store and be like, hey, we're hungry. Can we have some food? And they would be like, okay, well, how much money do you have? Everything in this world is required for pay. You need paper. You need bread for it. Think about it this way. Freedom is a state of mind, I believe, for sure.
For sure.
Just like my boy Eddie Griffith was talking about, wonderful comedian, rest his soul. But he was saying, listen, he's like, if you think that you can get anything free in this world, then you're dumb. That's why they call it freedom. He said, you want to know what freedom is? He said, you being told that you have to go to work at 4 and you saying, fuck you, I'm coming in at 5. Saying that you have to leave at 11 and going, fuck you, I'm leaving at 3:30, I gotta go pick up my kids. Freedom is a state of mind. You know, you can't buy freedom. You can't go out there and search for freedom. It is something that's instilled in every single human being. The goal of this, at least, I can't speak for other societies, but at least this society is, listen, if we all get together and give up a little bit of our freedoms and apply to a little bit of these rules, we can all live happily. And that's the goal. That's what they plan on doing. You know, it all works well on paper, just like fucking communism. It all works well on paper, but when you put it into action, you allow people's egos to get into the way. Same thing with religion. That's why it's so corrupt. Because all these religions are preaching a message, but nobody's fucking getting the message. Not a single nigga. Except for the people who are actually devout in it. Christianic people are wonderful people. Actual Christians will give you the fucking shirt off of their back if they see you're struggling. No matter what the fuck it is. Oh, you need $20. Even if you were to be like, hey, I need $20 for crack. A real Christian would be like, listen, you shouldn't buy crack with this money, but I'm going to give it to you for the hopes that you want. That is somebody devout in these religion. All these people, no hatred is actually meant to be spread in any of this religion. But ego gets in the way.
All that was being a light. That's the whole being a light.
Exactly. And it's the same thing, like, I see it this way. Think about, we perceive gods as 12th dimensional beings. So, these people, I mean, think about it. Think about the relationship that they force people like God and Satan to have. You know, they hate each other. You're not people. But realistically, if you actually read the text, if you go into the things, read it's hard to get to it because it's been written by so many people, but you go in there and you read it, think about it this way. What did they call God?
I think it's been written since the beginning of time. I think it had been written, I guess. Because like I said, they were talking about the dinosaurs and shit. They were talking about the cities of gold. I think that the Bible was written throughout all of those times, and that's why it was translated. It wasn't that it was written at one time and then translated down. I think it was literally written over time. And then we had to translate it from those languages.
Yeah, the message of God has always been evolving. I mean,
but
every single culture has gods.
But no, but it wasn't like, I don't think that the Bible, I think that the Bible is looked at almost too literal. Like, I feel like the Bible is looked at as,
I feel like
why can't I figure it out?
I feel like it's more of a story of metaphors than it is a story to be taken from face value.
It's just like listening to music. It's your own interpretation of it. So,
like, each word in the Bible, bro, it literally has a different meaning than what we think it does. Like, there are terms that are used in the Bible where today's dictionary does not line up with what that word means.
Yep.
Then, you know what I'm saying? Like, it talks about, like, slavery and shit like that. So, like, way back, slavery was totally different than what it was when the African Americans were here, bro. It wasn't even really looked at as like a bad thing. It literally was, people were making money and living good lives. They had somewhere to live and work and feed their children.
It was a job.
It was literally your job.
Exactly.
You worked for a family. It didn't matter if you were fucking black, white, like whatever.
Anybody would, because
if you were at the poorer side of the family,
they've had quote unquote slavery since the beginning of. So even the Egyptians had slaves, but they paid them with beer and food and so on and so forth.
It only turned into a fucking evil practice when the fucking white people.
Because
they did the most with
slavery. Was when the Ottomans came to conquer you. Instead of,
I gotta go to bed, man.
No, you're good.
So I just didn't want to I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, you're
You're good.
I'll let y'all y'all can cut that out or whatever.
No,
I didn't
you're
mean to
good.
interrupt right in the middle of that. I'm fucking exhausted. How much?
No, you're
Wrong
good.
with it. How many something like that?
We'll probably go for a little bit longer.
We'll wrap it up.
We've been going for
Yeah, we're gonna.
What time did we start? Like it was like
We're gonna be able to edit this out, right? Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
How long have you guys
I'll probably do a little bit longer because I told some niggas I was gonna play Fortnite with them. I got like one more.
Yeah,
I got
the
one more
theme of the
idea to
video.
get out.
There's two
God's
eleven right now.
theories and
We've been going for
religion.
50 minutes. So
Yeah.
you're almost at the hour.
Yeah, I'd like to get like I have.
I would
like,
stick
a
it out
couple more
early. I was
ideas.
supposed to be in bed
Yeah.
at 1:30, and I
No,
stayed
no,
out
you
to
good.
2:11. So
Hell yeah, but
I hung it out with y'all. I'm at least
Appreciate it,
50
brother.
minutes in that bitch.
Dimensional being. At any given point in time, angels come down to bring peace. You know, they show people enlightenment, so on and so forth. The way that I depict the story is Lucifer asks, you know, hey, eons since the beginning of our time, the beginning of our existences, you've ran, you know, this era of heaven, and you know he wanted a shot at it. So God, being the man he is, a man I believe that's a curious entity, he went, okay, well how about this? I create a realm for you, cause nigga hell wasn't there beforehand. You know what I'm saying? So I'll create a realm for you. You go down and you be the god of this realm. I'll give you a name, we'll send you down. You will be the one who tests the faith of these people that I shall create. Because I see it this way. The next story, when God goes about creating the earth, Adam was the first person to be born. He gave birth to Eve through his rib. You know? And the Garden of Eden, Lucifer was the one controlling the snake in that garden at that point in time. It was the devil, that's who they interpreted it as. God had already made the earth, knew exactly what was going to happen. He knew I see it this way, this nigga is capable of anything. If he did not want that snake to be in the garden, well, there it is. The snake's not in the garden.
What that is, I think that is God letting humans give true
Exactly.
freedom.
He was giving people the option, because if he wanted to, anybody can be controlled. The thing is with that, he said, listen, Satan. He said, I have a test for you. It's almost like a game almost, you know, just like how me and y'all would like to have fun doing something, it's the same thing. These are people. Imagine what you could do being on a 12th dimensional plane like that. These people are capable of existing at all times and not existing at the same time. You know, these are properties that you couldn't even fathom. And the thing is that, you know, he allows the snake in his garden to test Eve. Listen, he knew it was going to happen. I told her, he took his time to come down and say, listen, I will give you eternal life. You will live forever. I give you this earth as your fucking playground. I give you one rule. That garden, you may tend to it, do as you wish, but do not eat the apple from that tree. Do not take a bite of it. He returns, lets them go on about their free will. Humans, as we are, curious creatures. Eve steps foot into the garden and she sits there, gazes at the apple. The snake comes from the branch and whispers into her ear, you know, there's no point, don't listen. He's hiding something from you. These apples contain knowledge. He doesn't want you to evolve. He doesn't want you to be better. Testing their faith. Choose, as of right now, Eve, you choose. Adam was not part of this. Now they say a lot of people, especially no offense, but especially a lot of women especially will say that Adam was the one that ate the apple because of our Adam's apple, how men have Adam's apples. You know, that's proof that we ate it and it was us. Well, whatever the story may be, you know, whoever it is that ate the fucking apple, the other person wasn't in it. It was only the test of that one person. If both people would have been there, maybe Eve and or Adam would have been like, no, remember? He told us, don't eat that apple, don't eat it. And maybe the other party would have been like, yeah, you're right, let's go back to doing what we were doing. But that's not how it was set up. One person was sent into that garden, one person was tested. She failed, ate the apple. Bam, eternal life is gone, all these things, but knowledge was given. There are other passages that talk about Lilith. She was the first woman to be created, supposedly. Well, she said, God, I will not sit here and cater to Adam. You gave me free will, so I choose to be free. She walked off the earth, she became, I think, within the story, she becomes like the first demon, or some kind of crazy, something like that. I'm not really too knowledgeable about that. But I see it this way. It's the same thing with how gay people are slandered within that religious belief. The thing is that nigga, God knew that they were gonna be gay. Like, he made them that way. It's that simple, and you can't hate on that. And a lot of these religions, I mean, all of these higher up these beings, I feel like, me personally, I am somebody that believes in the spirituality of higher existences, but I believe that it is not like, it's not fair to only assume that God is the only one. It is fair to believe, but it's not fair to think, okay, well, he only exists, it's only him, because you got to think about how many religions were made before him.
Yeah, and it might be a little bit farther back on the topic now, but like with the Adam and the Eve thing, like, by granting you knowledge, that's evil, or you have the, eternal life that he was, to follow, the faith, or, what have you. And I think that's like the modern day example of like, if you're a Christian, you're promised, a free trip to the pearly gates up there and eternal happiness. But if, you sell your soul, you're a devil worshiper, like you get heaven on earth and you get knowledge, but, you sacrifice your eternal
Exactly.
soul, your being.
And I see it in a lot of ways.
And that's what makes me believe hell is truly going to get created by yourself. Because to enter hell, you have to say, to sacrifice your eternal self, you decide to get success, fame, and power here. But truly,
it's not something that's going to be able to be taken with you. But see, the thing is, the purpose of these said religions is that at any given point in time, say I were to go out and murder somebody, at any given point in time, I am to ask forgiveness of the Father, and He is to grant it to me. As long as I get on my knees and I say, Father, I've done wrong. These things that I have done, you have questioned your faith, and I am of a faithful servant now, so on and so forth. These things, He can forgive anybody, but you have the people that are, they're like, fuck that, blah, 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 I'm going to go out here, I'm going to do evil, I'm going to cause evil. Because I think about it this way, Satanists, for example. Once again, I'm going to say this, chill out, don't go crazy on me for this. Satanists are not bad people. These are people, yes, they believe in the opposite of what a Christian would believe, so on and so forth, but it's the same exact thing for Islamic faiths and believing in Buddha or anything like that. These people, I mean, yeah, okay, there's a lot of corrupt things, but think about it this way. Satanists are fucking violently anti-rape. These are, now look at, once again, like I said, chill, but look at what the Christians and shit were doing back then. There was a lot of, the Old Testament, bro, is fucking wild, bro. Like, I mean, fucking burying women up to their necks and stoning them in front of their father's houses for not being virgins when they got married. Just all the, telling a woman just from her being able to say she was able to lift up a heavy bucket and take it in, a job meant for a man, a heretic, a witch, witchcraft. I mean, just these crazy things that they would go off on. And I mean, within every religion, knowledge is blessed. They all lead to the same things. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to have a peaceful life. At the end of the day, every single person can agree on that. No matter how terrible you are, no matter if you racist this, homophobic that, Christian that, Satanist that, whatever it may be, every single one of these people are like, damn, at the end of the day, you just want to be happy. You want to be content. And that's what all these religions, that's what they all point to. So, to sit there and, I feel like, deny the fact that all this other stuff can exist is fucked up. Because everything, single one of them, they say, listen, if you do bad, bad things will happen. If you do good, good things will happen. If you are a good servant to God, then He will allow you access to the gates. But if you are a bad, I feel like you said, hell is something personal. That's why they say there's 7 layers of hell. There's something that I remember you saying. It's a saying that you said that I love. It's what is it? You make the bed you lay in, or something like that. Exactly, that kind of thing. What people don't understand, that we are energy-based creatures. We are frequency. Every single thing within us, that is being what allows us to be able to talk in this mic is frequencies. Everybody is comprised solely of energy. And yes, there's flesh that gets in the way of it, but these things, what you put out into the world, the energy you press out, is going to be what is coming back to you. So it was Bruce Lee had said something that words that I live by, something that really stuck with me. He was like, "Why is it that you think they call words spelling? Because that is exactly what it is. You cast spells on yourself when you cast doubt over yourself. If you wake up and you say, 'I'm terrible. Life is terrible. I can't do anything right,' your body subconsciously and mentally, your body's going to take those words that you spit out are seeds, and they get planted in your brain. So if you sit here and you wake up every day, because I used to be a part of this, my life used to be shit because every single day I would focus on how bad it was. So being able to, and it's something I am living proof. I speak from literal experience.
And it's like people who have terminal illnesses. Usually when people who like that, they convince themselves. When you tell yourself, I'm going to die. I have cancer, I have leukemia, whatever. And you to yourself, when you go to bed at night, not even what you tell everyone, even when you tell everyone you'll make it through, but when you talk to yourself at night, when you're like, I'm going to die. I feel like
damn,
I'm
really
die.
not gonna make it.
That is telling your body the same thing. That is why a lot of people can survive traumatic injuries because they want to live. Your body instinctually wants to live, but when you give up on yourself like that, what is power in that organ? Your brain functions and controls everything. It tells everything what to do. When you tell your brain that you can't do it, what is it going to tell your body?
You can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go look for reasons and excuses and things to, the reason you can't do it. And that's, something that I've looked into a lot the last, 2 years, just the, mental manifestation shit, like
Yep.
that Randonautica app where you, put in your intent or whatever, you don't say it. And, even though the app itself might not be doing anything, just where you're thinking of that certain thing, maybe get a little group together, chances are you're probably going to find it or see what you're looking for.
Exactly.
And I think that people are just now realizing how big of a thing that actually is. I mean, including myself, because I was like I was always, I'm still a hothead. I let little things get under my skin. I'd be, pissed off all the time. But now I just, you gotta look on the bright side of things, and it's just not going so good. You gotta, you gotta make it bright up there. Because if you just stay in that darkness and misery enjoys company, and all
Exactly.
this, it spreads too. That's with me. At my job, people tell me, oh, it's miserable when you're not here, but when I'm there, I try to keep, even if we're busting ass, and everybody is miserable, I try to keep it, light and as fun and easy as it can be, and make it not miserable.
And especially in the terms okay, I see it this way, I'm somebody that partakes in gemstones and stuff like that, and so I see it this way. Despite what anybody says, these properties that these stones, these crystals possess have been proven scientifically correct. Okay, I'm gonna try my best not to actually get too far into this because it's kind of getting a little late. We probably should wrap it up. But the Bermuda Triangle, for example, they have had records when they do. I believe is it called sonar? That's what they use to map out. To get those topographic maps and shit. There is right in the Bermuda Triangle. There is a fucking massive crystal. I am talking a giant, gemstone that's in the ocean. Mm-hmm. And things, if you were to take I can't exactly remember what the name of the machine is, but the machine's not exactly like a Geiger counter, not something that's so high on the scales of energy.
No,
but
it reverses the poles.
Exactly.
There's a lot of spots in the triangle where poles reverse, and that is all magnetic waves.
Exactly, that these stones are pushing off. And, stones are things just like charcoal. There's so many things. There's literally so much science that goes into all of these properties. Since the beginning of time, people have been using herbs, stones, all of these things. People put salt rocks in their houses and stuff like that. It's something energy-based wise. I believe personally that in all science, we can describe what every single organ does. We can describe what the brain consists of. But within every single science, there is one part, there is one aspect that's always missing. There's always something that they don't know. That, I believe, literally the answer to that is the soul. That's because they want to know, okay, well, we could literally fabricate a human body right now. But unless it is birthed through a woman, unless it is birthed through another creature, it's not alive. It will not function. Because this is how I see it. To go back to the religious aspect of things like afterlife. The Son of God himself was not even allowed a permanent, eternal afterlife. God himself even sent his Son from heaven down to earth. What is depicted. When you die, in science, one of the main rules in science, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Once energy is here, energy is here. It will take other shapes and it will take other forms, but it will never
disappear.
Exactly. It is something that will always be there. Okay, the soul, what fuels the human existence, completely comprised of energy. What fuels our body is the electric impulses that come through our brain and allows us to move. Me moving my arm, just like all these things, but they can never explain what the thought process is, what goes into that, what makes people think, what makes people conscious. Me.
That's got a lot to do with like how they like, ghost hunt and stuff.
Exactly.
They're always looking for, magnetic fields and shit like that.
For me personally, I know, not necessarily I know, I'm not going to be like that, but I feel like as if it is the soul that is the missing component. When you die, your energy goes up into a void of some sort, what we can consider the afterlife. Scientifically, when a human dies, all the DMT, which is one of the main things that allows us to process and see reality, where our third eye is, all the DMT releases in your brain. DMT is a highly, like, potent psychedelic drug. It is a drug, it is one of the only drugs naturally that you experience. It is a drug that you experience the moment you're born and the moment you die. Essentially, like how a battery gets jumped. It's the kickstart to the soul, what starts the human existence. When you die, all of that DMT gets released into your brain. DMT trips only realistically last 5 to 15 minutes. These 5 to 15 minutes can feel like years, months, eons. It feels like you've been tripping for eternity.
That's why I won't personally ever doing that.
So, when you die, all of that energy released right into your brain could explain things like the afterlife. That's why when people die, they go under and they get brought back to life. 9 out of 10 of them say that they see something. So, for me personally, once that ends, once that void ends and your energy goes up, it's like a circle. Say it's a cycle, the cycle of life, circle of life. Your energy and soul goes up. I'm also somebody I'm not like too crazy in it. I'm not into the horoscopes and all the rest of that stuff, but I do study zodiac signs, the celestial calendar. It says when you get deeper into it that I believe there are 12 zodiac signs, that only 12 people exist on the planet at once. That's why everybody's split up into different signs. Your soul will go on. So say me, for example, I have a Gemini soul. That's where it's the same thing with Eli over here. That is where our soul resonates on the celestial counter. When we die, it'll go up into the cycle, and almost every single time we will be shot right back into the earth as that sign. Souls, that's why they get attracted to each other. That's why each certain signs vibe with one another. This right here would prove things like rebirth. The fact is that we actually never die as humans. That's why people say that they're connected to their ancestors. Exactly. Deja vu, all the rest of these things that happen. And I do truthfully believe that could be, I can't back it up by anything, I guess, but just in taking years of thinking and just a lot of time sitting with myself, it's something that I can definitely believe and say is a theory.
I firmly believe in rebirth. I believe
that's why you got fears and stuff, because I know most fears and stuff, happen because of traumatic, things. But like my big thing is like, Nirvana, exactly what I'm about to say, how much of a freak I am about the shit. But like my thing is like house fires. I think in a previous life, I died in like some kind of fire, some sort of house fire or something.
Mine's a big thing is heights. I hate being around tall edges. And it's just subconscious. Like, I can envision myself almost falling to my death on everyone.
I used to feel weird about ceilings that were really high up and shit. That's how but as I've gotten older, it's kind of
it's gonna sound kind of weird, but my biggest fear is literally like Like, I don't really have any kind of fear of, like, heights and stuff. It's something that definitely makes me, like, uneasy. Like, but I'm the type of person, like, if I'm up on a height, I'm gonna look down. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, there's nothing really, like, when I was younger, I was scared of things like spiders, because people would scare me with them all the time. But, naturally, apparently, the only two fears that you were actually born with is the fear of darkness, I believe, and the fear of falling, which is the two things that babies are the most feared of.
Yeah.
But for me, my biggest fear, I genuinely believe that I was like assassinated or murdered in a past life, because like I'm always having like the most uneasy ass feelings. Like I dream about it like consistently all the time. Like I'm constantly dreaming about it, and like I feel like especially for people, it's like you was telling me that shit that Rick Ross said, how they all were fascinated with gold and stuff because they come from kings. It's like the same thing. It's like, you know, people come into this life and there are specific things that they are attracted to, specific things that, you know, it's just like women. All of these things trickle down into like, it's just every little single action trickles down into some point of part of your life within reality. And it's definitely something to think about. Like, I always encourage to, because it's not something that's taught, I encourage people to try and get to know themselves, learn who they are, figure out what it is that makes them happy, makes them mad, makes them sad, because I feel like once you can get, I haven't completely got there, but I'm getting to the edges of it. Once you get to the point to where, because you got to think about it, when you dream, those dreams are reality.
It is a literal reality that you create, and I feel like that's the same thing that happens when you die. It's like I haven't taken DMT or salvia myself, but the way those chemicals work is it takes you, a lot of people feel it, it's called ego death.
Yeah.
Because you aren't even, like your emotions aren't even felt the same way they are in this world. Like the whole way it is, it feels like pretty much death, like there's nothing.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the only time that I ever really actually figured it out for myself, and I feel like for somebody to do that without psychedelics would be kind of hard.
It is it is extremely hard.
Like, I don't know, I just feel like that is, ego death is what I would consider what death will be like, at least at the first start, is you go into this plane of just energy, what the world is at its core, what there was before, what there will be after, what everything is. And I feel like that's what you go to, and then depending on your life, how you perceive things, you will create your own version of the after death. You'll create your own world, and then you will spend time there and you will recycle your way back.
Exactly. I feel like the biggest thing with us, egos are something, just like emotions, egos are also a tool. You know, these are things, the ego can help, but instinctually, the ego is something that will corrupt a lot of things, because a lot of people don't think about it. You know, they just think, okay, well, me personally, as somebody who has experienced, I have done things like astral projection before, really deep meditations, attempts of lucid dreaming, never really capable of like actually doing it like fluently, but and I've done things like psychedelics before, so to go into that thing, these things, they increase, like it's like almost like double XP tokens. You sit here and you live these things, sitting in meditation, sitting in things like astral projection, having to be able to sit there and keep yourself still, right in the void between sleep and reality, just to where you're just awake enough to where you are still here, but just asleep enough to where you can drift into that realm and leave your body. It was, from my personal experience, it wasn't anything that I was capable of doing for a long time. I was able to actually go over, but like I saw my body. But the moment that I had seen it happen, I must have gotten scared, because it like once it happened, I like shocked out of it, and I woke up. I was fucking sweating, like nigga. It was definitely
like I'm not gonna say like, you know, deep meditative, but like I think I did it on accident, like when I've been like either in like I wasn't even like I wasn't intoxicated, I wasn't drunk or nothing, but like I've had it to where like, you know, I'll fall asleep, but like I'll be asleep, but I can still hear what's going on around me, and like usually what it turns into is like, you know, a really scary, like really real life, like up close and personal, like bad dream. Like,
Yes, I've had that shit before
short and sweet. Like I had all my windows open in my house. It was a nice fall's day, I was like, getting it aired out, and I ended up falling asleep on my bed. And I remember I was all still asleep during all of this, but I woke up and I looked around my house and I seen hellhounds outside my windows, and I started going around shutting on my windows, and then I shot back to it, but I had full control of what I was doing, and then I just come back to back to reality, and nothing was going on, of course, but I shut my windows. And
I remember the biggest one for me was I was so sleepy that I was watching something trying to keep myself awake, but I was so tired it just wouldn't happen. So I ended this state where I was asleep, but trying to keep myself awake. It was I was just teetering, like you said. And I can't remember the dream fully, but all I know is it ended in me falling. And all I can remember is when I woke up and just feeling the falling so vividly. Even when I woke up, it felt like I really just sunk. It felt like I don't know how to imagine when you get on those roller coasters that shoot you up and straight down. As soon as I woke up, that was the feeling I had, that I had literally just sunk down because I was so deep in my dream that it felt real. And when I woke up, I literally couldn't fully move myself for a second. I was so developed in it until I realized what world I was in, and then I finally moved, and I was like, I don't know, it was a realness that made no sense to me that I never had before until that moment.
And I feel like, especially for the people who are heavier into things like DMT trips, Terrence McKenna was somebody that I was really into, and to sit here and to listen to the things that he had talked about, our brains are phenomenal. Especially another person I was really into was a man named Alan Watts. Rest in peace to both of those fantastic people. But I had just to sit there and listen to it, to read all the stuff that happens. I mean, our brains are literally we have to understand that we are creatures capable of free will. We are creatures that are capable of instinctually living and consciously living. We have choices. I think about it this way: a tiger wakes up, has to eat. The tigers do not choose. They do not wake up and go, I don't really feel like hunting today. Fuck it. I'm just gonna chill here. I'm gonna lay in the grass. I don't really need to eat. I ate yesterday. But humans are completely different, and because of being so consciously driven, having things like egos, animals are not programmed with egos. You can imprint an ego onto an animal and allow them, and they will mimic emotions and
Not only
experience
that,
emotions.
Humans are some of the only creatures on Earth where the brain burns more calories than any other organ in the body.
Exactly.
In the body. It burns over 50% of the total calories that go throughout your entire body per day.
And I mean, it's because we have the literally fastest supercomputer in our brains. And to think that there are so many things that we are capable of creating, so many things that we are capable of doing, is fucking unreal just to think about that. And that's just, it's definitely something I say anybody and everybody should definitely dive into, though, for real.
Well, I think that's pretty much where we'll end it for today, man. That was awesome, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Make sure to like and subscribe. Each one of us actually has a YouTube channel. We have Elo Audio and Visuals over here. Give his channel a shout out. CJ3K TV right here. Give his channel a shout out. And most of the stuff on my channel will probably be the podcast and stuff like that. But check me out. It's Navunky. And just want to go ahead and say thank you for everybody who came. Thank you for anybody who's going to continue to come. And we'll see you next time.
Appreciate it. Peace out.